One of the most dreaded chores in the landscape is weed control. And there are so many different types of weeds and they grow everywhere. They get into our flower beds, in our lawns, and it can be really frustrating. One of the most frustrating problems is having grassy weeds growing in our ornamental beds, among our broadleaf ornamentals. And that can be a real challenge, but we do have a couple of products or chemicals that are on the market that can be used to help control grassy weeds in among our ornamentals. So for example, we have some Bermuda grass actually looks like growing up in among our irises here. And it would be very difficult to spray these individually or without getting the product on these ornamentals. But as mentioned, there are a couple products that are listed as over-the-top sprays for some of our broadleaf ornamentals. So the first one is Safak Sedum, and that's usually sold under the label names of Post, Grass Getter by Monterey Lawn and Garden Products. Fertilome has some products, and some other of the major manufacturers produce this chemical. And then the other one is Fusillade P-butyl, which is sold under the name of Fusillade, and that's found in Ortho's Grass Be Gone, and again some other Fertilome products, etc. And again, these are labeled as over-the-top sprays for some of our broadleaf ornamentals. Now, the key is that the grasses have to be growing, actively growing, and you don't want to mow them down or pull them before you spray. You want as much leaf surface as you possibly can get so that you get good coverage. And you can spray that over the top of some of the listed ornamentals. Now, the labels, you need to read the labels carefully because they will list those types of plants that have been tested and are shown to be tolerant of these products. And stay away from those that maybe are not on the list, or there are a few that are actually listed as sensitive. So like azaleas, privet are both on the labels that it's not safe to use around. They can cause damage to those products. In some cases, you can actually spray, it says you can spray around or underneath the plants, but not get it on the foliage itself. And if you do get some drift or some spray onto foliage that it's not supposed to be on, you can just wash that off as soon as you possibly can. Now, after you've sprayed the weeds, it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks to actually kill the plants. Usually you'll see stunted growth, or it will stop growing almost immediately, will then turn yellow and eventually die. Now, these products again are very effective on many of our common grassy weeds, Bermuda grass, crabgrass, and many others. Now, nutsedge or nutgrass is a whole different beast. It's a grass-like weed, but it's not truly a grass, and so these products that we just talked about, the Safak Sedum and the Fusillade, will not work on this particular weed. And actually there are two different types that are common. There's a yellow nutsedge and a purple nutsedge. And there are several products available that will control nutsedge and turf grasses, but there are very few that are labeled for the ornamental beds. And actually there's more available to the professional pesticide applicator than there is to the homeowner. In fact, the only one I could find online that was labeled for use by the homeowner is one that's called Image, and that has imizaquin in it. And that one is labeled for use around certain ornamentals. It's largely, again, used in turf areas, but it can be used in certain circumstances around certain types of broadleaf ornamentals like trees and shrubs and some ground covers. Now, this is a product that when you spray it in the area, it has to be watered in because it's absorbed by the plant's roots and then taken up and kills the plant. So that's why you have to be very careful using it around other ornamentals or other plants that may be sensitive or not listed on the label because they could also be damaged. So spray it, water it in so that it becomes activated and so that the plants can then absorb it. This will also take a few weeks to provide control, and in some cases there may be a second application that's necessary, and that's true with the other products that we've talked about already. But again, make sure you read the label and follow label directions.